Hi, I'm Rodney Donahue, and I don't even know what I'm talking about.
My brother Forrest once said,
I asked for a selection from my class in the prison to pick a movie for me to watch and talk about for my YouTube channel, and my class in the prison selected the film Lawless, which I had never heard of.
nothing can kill us. We can't never die.
You know, when I looked at like the box, when I looked at the cover for this movie, I was like, okay, I like Shia LaBeouf sometimes, which is odd because I didn't like him in this movie. I like Tom Hardy sometimes, which is odd because I didn't like him in this movie. I like, I think his name's Jason Clarke, the guy who was John Connor in the Terminator Genesis. I like him sometimes, but I didn't like him in this movie. It's got Guy Pearce, who, I mean, Memento is one of my favorite movies. It's got Guy Pearce, and I didn't like him in this movie. And so it's just it's like the box, looking at the poster, it's like this movie felt like it was built for me. But then when I watched it, it was like a big giant lie. It wasn't built for me. It seemed to be built for everybody else. I got in touch with a couple buddies and said, my class picked Lawless. And oh, yeah. I haven't seen Lawless since I saw it in the theaters. Oh, yeah, I haven't, it's been a while since I watched Lawless. I need to watch it again. And I never want to watch this movie again. I don't want to do it. It's not my kind of movie. When my classes pick these movies, I always want to talk about something that's from kind of the film class, and I feel like for this movie, it's definitely genre, because the narrative is a gangster story. It's about prohibition. It's about this gang of three brothers who are continuing their bootlegging ways, even though bigger and badder criminals, as well as some government entities, are trying to get involved.
There's the White Lightning, Sheriff. They come at you like a knife. Pointy end first, sharp end hot all the way down.
Oh, damn it. Give me two.
All right, then.
So it's got everything running for it as far as gangster, but it's shot and scored like a Western. And so the tone of the movie just feels off. And so I want to start with that because everything about this movie was kind of done a way that I wouldn't do it. I don't know if it's like everything seemed like it's in the right place. Gangster movie, great actors across the board. Jessica Chastain, I mean, she's a terrific actress.
I'm leaving, Forrest.
I didn't really like her in this movie. Everything about it was just not for me. And I think I'm going to have to explore what some of those things are. So before I talk about Lawless, I think it's important to explain sort of what happened. I waited a couple weeks to watch Lawless when I was looking at the movie because I didn't know anything about it. I looked at the name of the director and I didn't know who he was, John Hillcoat. I didn't know anything about the director or who he was. And I didn't know anything about the writer and who he was. Not that I know a lot of screenwriters who aren't also directors, but I don't know. It just kind of I don't know, I felt like taking a deep dive for some reason, and I saw that this writer and director had worked together on a previous movie about maybe not quite a decade before, maybe a decade before, somewhere in there, called The Proposition. And it was the same writer, same director, so the writer Nick Cave, and I was like, okay, who's this writer? And so I click on it, and Nick Cave he's like a musician. And he's got one of those biographies that's like a legendary musician kind of guy. I would have thought that I would have heard of a music legend writing movies in a Rob Zombie kind of way. You know, Rob Zombie isn't like the most mainstream musician in the world. It kind of feels like that. And so I found this fascinating because these are the only two movies that Nick Cave has written.
You're my brother, Charlie. You belong with me. We are a family. All of us.
And they're both with the same director. And so I was like, okay, all right. I really think that I need to watch both of these. And so I wanted to wait. I wanted to watch them together. I watched Lawless first. Here's the thing. Lawless and The Proposition, the specifics are different, right? But the generalities are exactly the same. And I want to talk about what those are, okay? I want to do that before I actually talk about Lawless, because it'll sort of open up this thing, because The Proposition is a Western. It's a Western shot in Australia.
Australia.
So instead of like the American West and the Western being an American genre, it's a Western that takes place in Australia. The Proposition and Lawless, here are the things that they both contain, okay? They both contain a criminal gang that is three brothers.
Come on, you bitches, get down!
Arthur!
Each of the gangs has like a little gangly friend, you know, somebody who kind of tags along with the gang, the thin sort of wiry creature. Both gangs have sort of this reputation that they can't be touched, that they can't be hurt, that nothing can happen to them.
Yeah. Now I remember them Bondurant boys. That boy's brother, he's the one who walked 20 miles with his head cut clear off.
Both movies contain a high-strung metrosexual who doesn't want to get blood on them. Like literal blood, not like a Lady Macbeth kind of thing, like literal blood, like they don't want to get blood on them.
Don't touch me!
Here's the thing that both of them have. At the end of the film,
Like he's dead. Listen to that. He sings like a bird.
I do not understand a single reason that any character makes a decision. I have no idea. None at all. I have no idea why Guy Pearce in The Proposition shoots the guy who's on Emily Watson at the end of Lawless. Spoilers. I have no idea why any character makes any decisions. There are characters that like stop shooting. They encourage people to stop shooting. They let somebody run away. They let people go after them. I don't know who's on anybody's side. I have no idea of what's going on at the end of the movie and why anyone is making those decisions. I have a theory, but I'll get to that in a minute.
Just stay calm. Let it be, Jimmy.
The Proposition and Lawless are very, very similar. And before I start talking about Lawless, I'll tell you right now, and I knew this is what was going to happen. I knew that The Proposition was going to be a better movie.
Merry Christmas.
I don't know that I like it more. I don't really like Lawless. I don't really like The Proposition. I'm never going to watch either of them again. Objectively, The Proposition is a better movie, I think. So both of these movies, they have so much in common. You know, same writer, same director. Lawless feels like a bigger budget attempt at The Proposition, wanting to tell a different story, but it's the same story, so that makes it just even weirder. So if you have watched Lawless and you like it, like all of my friends apparently, and I don't, you should check out The Proposition, because it will probably also be good because it's the exact same thing, and I would be interested to see what you think about it.
Christmas, as you're probably aware, is fast approaching.
When I think of like a Western and Prohibition, I immediately go to Legends of the Fall.
He's saying that your brother voted for the Volstead Act.
Oh, did he? You suggesting I become a bootlegger?
And that's a movie that does the kinds of things that both The Proposition and Lawless wanted to do. A story about, you know, family and being together and taking part in that engage in an extra legal activity.
Excuse me. Appreciate it.
Legends of the Fall is what I think both of these movies really just kind of wish that they could be. I mean, the writer and the director, they'll never say that, right? They won't be like, oh man, I love Legends of the Fall and I wish I could. They're not going to do that, but that's just what I think watching these movies. It's like they wished that they could make Legends of the Fall and they could not. Okay, so let's talk about Lawless.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, Jimmy, and
Where do I start?
I'm a bondurant. And we don't lay down for nobody.
I want to start with Rob Lowe. Obviously, right? Because Rob Lowe is not in The Proposition or Lawless. Instead, he's hosting The Floor. Because The Floor has become so popular, he's been giving a lot of interviews lately. And one of the things that he talked about was something called the page 72 rule, which I had never heard of. And as a film instructor, I'm always excited to learn about new things. And what he said that I found really interesting was the page 72 rule was that, like, right at the end of your second act going into the third act, page 72, in the 80s, he said, you know, there was always a nude scene, right? There was always some form of sex, whether that was your main characters getting together in some way, whether that was a woman taking off her shirt. There was some aspect of nudity or sex that was in each of these movies, and both Lawless and The Proposition both contained this exact same thing. It's uncanny. I remember because I had just read this article that had this Rob Lowe interview in it.
You're just gonna watch me forever.
When Jessica Chastain decides to get up and go into Tom Hardy's room, and she walks through nude and goes and gets in bed with him. 72nd minute of the movie. I was shocked. And so then, of course, you know, John Hillcoat, Nick Cave, you know, looking at their movie, looking at the differences, I'm like, okay, well, when I watch The Proposition, I'm going to watch for this. And Emily Watson in The Proposition is in the bathtub. Now, there's no nudity, but her character is nude. And so that was the 72nd minute of The Proposition. And so Nick Cave, you know, obviously got the memo on the page 72 rule. And so I just thought that was interesting that it was in both of these movies you know, at the time, that these were the two movies that I watched right after this interview. Okay, so I'm still not talking about Lawless alone, right? I've got to do it. It's one of those things. It's like a foot dragging kind of thing, because I don't like this movie, and that's okay. That's all right. I can still talk about a movie that I don't like. Let's talk about realism. So I assume that Lawless, which is based on a book that I think was written by the descendant of one of these brothers, I think that Lawless had to be a real story. And it's one of those kind of things that I can tell that it was real and that this really happened, because especially during the last scene, but kind of throughout the whole narrative, there's a lot of things that don't make sense. There's a lot of stupid things that characters do that are dumb, that the only thing I can think is that that's what happened in real life.
And in the end, it was dumb luck and pneumonia that got him.
The fight scene at the end, where you've got everybody behind their cars and they're all shooting, and you've got, like, I don't know, police there and like other bootleggers. I'm not quite sure who all, like, everybody in the movie shows up at this fight before Guy Pearce decides to run down the bridge. And I don't know why any of the characters make the decisions that they do. I don't know why everybody stops shooting the people that they're shooting. I don't know why when Guy Pearce runs away that people don't go after him and shoot it, like they let somebody else run through them so that he can go shoot them. Like, I don't understand any of the decisions that are made, and I feel like that's because they just needed to tell the story. They just needed to get the plot points through, but they didn't think about how that really needed to occur in a way that was satisfactory as far as character development.
Stay where you are, Jimmy.
Guy Pearce, by that point, you know, he's beating the snot out of Shia LaBeouf. I mean, he beats he beats his face in a really fast moment, which I'll talk about in a minute.
It's not going to help you right now, is it?
You know, once he gets to this point where they're shooting, he's not going to let up, but he does, and for no reason. And so I assume that that's exactly what happened, that character probably let up and ran away because he thought that something happened, but we aren't really shown that in the movie, so it doesn't make sense why it occurs. Guy Pearce and his crew clearly seem to be overpowering and overwhelming the gang, and so I don't really know why that decision was made.
Jimmy, just stop this right here. No one else needs it.
So there are also some realistic things that happen. Realism doesn't always translate very well on film. When Guy Pearce is punching Shia LaBeouf repeatedly, when he's beating on him, it happens very fast. They're little tiny short punches, and this makes sense in terms of reality and what someone might actually do to someone, but it looks funny on film. Fight scenes very rarely work well in terms of their realism on film, and this is one of those instances where it's probably a realistic thing, but as far as the film is concerned, it looks a little weird. I want to give the film credit in its realistic approach, trying to tell a realistic story, having realistic things that occur.
I'm just a messenger here, Ford.
Have you met Howard?
Oh, what, you gonna shoot me, huh? How?
But there's so many decisions that I just don't understand what they were thinking. You know, when Shia LaBeouf goes into the church and he has been drinking, I don't remember if he's drunk or hungover. He goes in the church to see the girl, and she's got to wash his feet, and he leaves to go vomit. I mean, he needed to vomit in that church, right in that bucket. Like that's what needed to happen. You know, I'm sorry if it's not what was in the book. I'm sorry if it's not the real story, but like you got to do that thing. You got to have that happen. Let's talk about the fact that two guys slit Tom Hardy's throat and he holds it together. Now, thankfully, you know, I actually thought for a little while, as I'm sure everybody watching the film did, I actually thought that he walked himself to the hospital, you know, probably clamping that thing. I'm like, this is ridiculous. Of course, later we learned that Jessica Chastain did it. But I mean, those two guys, you know, the guy that he hit earlier in the movie with the brass knuckles, or maybe he punched in the throat. See, I'm not quite sure who anybody is in the movie. I'm not quite sure when things occur. I don't know if these are the same guys that he punches the guy in the throat in the bar and like the blood's like, I thought he killed those guys. Maybe he only killed one. I couldn't really tell. Sometimes I can't tell what happens. And these guys, they slit Tom Hardy's throat, but then they don't kill him either. Like these guys, all these guys are criminals and they're all doing like half a job. It just feels very weird. Like if you're going to, you know, slit somebody's throat, okay, yeah, slit his throat, but then, you know, go back over and just stab him. Like he's not going to do anything. So I don't know what the point of that was, to show the suggested sexual assault of Jessica Chastain. I don't quite know why this happens, you know, and why they have that dissolve that leads to her in the hotel hallway rather than show that torture sequence. You know, we kind of go away from the moments where we might be able to care about individuals. We kind of know what's going to happen, but they take us away. Yeah, it's a weird movie. Shia LaBeouf is, I think, our main character, but he keeps, like, stuff keeps happening to him and he keeps not being involved in a lot of the decision making, and when that happens with your main character, it's tough to follow necessarily what's going on.
Where's Forrest? What?
Jack.
Are they going without me?
The brothers, they, you know, take revenge without him, but then they give him the sack of sacks to give to Guy Pearce. You know, it's just a weird movie. It feels weird, the tone is weird, the cinematography is weird, the editing choices are weird. You know, these two guys, Nick Cave and John Hillcoat, I would not give them money to make a movie. It's just the things that happen are weird. I think the music, even though it was more Western themed, you know, you got it's Virginia, it's not a Western, right? But it has that sort of, I guess, you know, Appalachian hick feel. I guess I'm glad it didn't have like the, you know, really electric guitar hard rock music that the Proposition had. So I think the music overall was better for the movie, but even that, some of it was weird. I could never quite tell when things were supposed to be serious or when they were supposed to be funny. The cinematography shot that really bugs me is Jessica Chastain has red fingernails when she shows up, and she goes to shake hands with one of the characters, and they shoot it instead of you know, showing like her nails and showing the red and, you know, showing the big red nails. Instead, they do it like silhouetted with like the sun's coming through, and so you just see like the tiny red tips like sticking over her finger. It's like that's not how you'd show that, right? Put the camera on the other side or make them, you know, switched around with the blocking so that you get her hand. Show us the long red fingernails. That becomes a thing later on that indicates that she's, that she could be a loose woman, right? Jason Clarke's portrayal of the brother, I don't understand what's going on there. I don't really like when Tom Hardy is like very like quiet and introspective. Like, I think about my favorite Tom Hardy performance is obviously Bronson, where he plays Charlie Bronson, and he's very
You expect somebody else to handle it?
just really gravelly and giving it to you. But when he pulls his voice back, which is what he does as Bane in The Dark Knight Rises, when he kind of pulls his voice back as he does with the that's not the Tom Hardy stuff that I like.
It ain't really the quiet life you're looking for.
I actually would reverse the actors in this movie. I thought
Howard, maybe?
you want Jason Clarke to be your the character that Tom Hardy was, and you want Tom Hardy to be
Howard, maybe?
sort of the sort of other brother. I don't know why they did it. I can't see it. I watched it and I will never watch it again.
You got trouble written all over it.
I'm Rodney Donahue, and I cannot imagine that I have anything more to say about Lawless or The Proposition, except maybe that, boy, in The Proposition, there is some crazy violence.
Wake him up.